Reverend Jennifer Nordstrom opened General Assembly with these words, and we share them with you as our opening words. "'Tis time to circle round, beloveds. Let's start by drawing near, drawing in your own breath, drawing near to your own beating heart. We welcome you into this worship service, welcoming people of all genders, sexualities, ages, races, ethnicities, histories, and bodies. We welcome your mind, your heart, and your spirit. We welcome all that you're bringing with you today and all your heart longs to set down. Welcome all of you." Robert will light the chalice here in the sanctuary. I invite you to light your own chalice and place it where it can be seen by all of us if you are able. At GA 2021, Reverend Gary McAlpin spoke of the fire that Native Americans have been tending for thousands of years, a sacred fire. Reverend McAlpin's words will accompany this morning's chalice lighting. This fire at Scylla has guided our ceremonies and lifeways even before there ever was a church born. This sacred fire warms our homes and brings us into unity, fanning the flames in our own hearts and minds, to bring us into the circle, all equal, all accepted, all validated. We bring this flame into our midst, uniting us all as one. Before we sing the first hymn, let me remind you at home to leave yourselves muted. However, we want you and whoever's with you to sing with Mary as big and loud as you like. Make it a joyous occasion. For the rest of you here, please wear a mask if you wish to sing. So let us all sing the opening hymn, Breaths, number 1001.
Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath on the voice of the waters. Zawa, those who have died have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in the crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria. We are glad you are with us today. We acknowledge that our UUCC sanctuary stands on land that was originally occupied by coastal Chumash indigenous peoples, whose ancestors lived primarily in the San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. As a Unitarian Universalist community, we celebrate religious diversity and welcome all who journey in search of faith and spirituality. The UUCC is a lay-led congregation, inviting speakers from different religious traditions and spiritual or scientific backgrounds to speak at our pulpit. We encourage presentations covering a variety of topics and areas of interest that connect with the UU7 principles. Today's service centers around the fourth principle. We affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. As responsible religious seekers, we recognize that we are privileged to be free. We have resources to pursue life beyond mere survival, to continually search for truth and meaning, to exist beyond bounds of dogma and oppression, and to wrestle freely with truth and meaning as they evolve. My name is Nancy Tolan, and I am your worship associate this morning. I would like to extend a special welcome to today's guests and visitors. We're glad you joined us this morning. If you are not on our mailing list, please visit our website at www.uuccambria.org so that we can keep you informed about all of our activities. And please check out What's Happening, a weekly e-blast sent to all our members and friends. This is a great way to keep up with the latest news in our community. And as a reminder, if you wish to see this or any of our past Zoom services, recordings of these services can be found on the UUCC website and Facebook as well. The membership committee invites non-members to consider joining our community. Please contact Janet Cooper or a person on the board if you are interested. Thank you. So again, good morning and welcome to everyone. The affirmation is both a recognition of the nature of our community as well as a promise we make and aspire to. Let us now recite our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. We set aside this time for any short announcements that would be of interest to our UU community members and friends. Please keep your items short and to the point. For any items that need more explanation, please call or email the person after the service to be respectful of everyone's time. If you have an announcement, please raise your hand or your Zoom hand by clicking on the raise hand button in the reactions icon. When Randy calls your name, please unmute yourself, then speak. First, does anyone in Sanctuary have an announcement? Come on up, Randy.
Hey, big day on October 31st, Sunday. It's a service, and Judy and I are going to host a service called Spooky Ookie, and we'd like to get inputs from all of you out there. If you've had any, no, I'm not doing that one. If you have any inputs for any ghost stories or any close encounters of any kind that you've had, anything like that, we'd love to have that in and have you present that if you can. So please get in touch with Judy or me with any stories that you have. Appreciate that.
Anyone else here? Okay. Randy will call on you.
Okay. Let's see. Mary Ann, could you please unmute yourself and share or give your announcement?
Hi, all. I have two announcements. First of all, Karen Le Rossignol from Australia will be our featured reader at Poetry Spoken Word Thursday at 7 p.m. Contact me if you're interested in attending. It should be very exciting. We're really reaching across the world with our Zoom, which I'm thrilled about. So we have an Aussie on Thursday. Now, also on Saturday, the 25th, we're going to be doing a little farewell, adieu, bonne journée for Susan Landau at Janet Cooper's house from 4 to 6 p.m. It's also Janet's birthday, so we'll probably be having 2 cakes. Bring an appetizer or libation. I think best thing to do is maybe contact Diane if you're interested, or Janet. So that's going to be Saturday, the 25th. So 2 things going on. Hope to see you all at both places. Thank you.
Okay, next, Chris, could you unmute yourself and give your announcement, please?
Yes, good morning. I just wanted to thank everyone who contributed so generously to the school supply effort. We really had a wonderful contribution to kids who need school supplies. I think there is enough that we were able to donate that will get them at least through the first semester, if not the second semester. And I particularly wanted to thank people who went a little bit above and beyond: Nancy Tolan and Robert Wilkinson, Brad Seek and Suzanne Simonson, Rebecca Hendricks, Barbara Tahan and Barbara Sullivan, and our sisters in social justice, Marilyn Feeblecorn and Kathleen Conway. Thank you.
Okay, next, Dolores or Diane, please unmute yourself and make your announcement.
Knock, knock. Who's there? I'll tell you who. All the members, friends, family, and invitees who will be attending our auction on October 16th at 4 o'clock on Zoom. Knock, knock. Who's there? I heard. I heard who? I heard who's coming up with some wonderful ideas for our auctions for UUs with books, paintings, homemade knitted blankets, and lots more. So who? Oh, so who? UUs, that's who. Knock, knock. Who's there? Ice cream. Ice cream who? Ice cream when I don't get to win the auction item that I am bidding on. Knock, knock. Who's there? Ash. Ash who? You sound like you're getting a cold. But even with a cold, you can attend our auction on Zoom. No questions asked. Knock, knock. Who's there? Nobel. Nobel who? Nobel. That's why I knocked. So knock us over with creativity and the budget can rest in peace. Knock, knock. Who's there? Dee Dee. Dee Dee who? Dee Dee me, Diane DeMarco. Please send your name or service to my email with a picture, description, and beginning price. That's ddspirit55@gmail.com, also in the newsletter. Knock, knock. Police. Police who? Could you police stop these knock, knock jokes? Okay.
Nancy, I mercifully turn it over to you.
Thank you. Next week, Rabbi Leah Novick will present Making Time for Forgiveness. Don't miss it. Now is the time for joys and concerns. Sharing together some of our personal and significant joys and concerns brings us closer as a faith community. We invite you to share the milestones that are deeply felt as part of your personal life. But please be mindful and considerate of all who come to worship with us this morning. This is a time of community building. The collective flames of these candles embody all the joys and sorrows which have gone unspoken today, but are also deeply felt within this community. The first reading is from the COVID-19 Pandemic Justice, Healing, Courage, UUA 2021 Action of Immediate Witness. Unitarian Universalists are heartbroken. 3 million people have died in the world and millions more endure poverty because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Lessons learned during the 2021 plague force us to look at the American healthcare system. The extreme inadequacy and inequity in medicine and public health has been exposed. The current disorganized mix of private insurance and government programs has failed to cover and protect all U.S. residents. Some demographic groups are disproportionately disadvantaged. BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color experience high infection, hospitalization, and death rates because of COVID-19. The elderly and people with disabilities have been hit especially hard. The medical needs of LGBTQ+ people have often been ignored. Lower income communities and frontline workers have been exposed to health and safety hazards while lacking adequate protection, representation, and medical insurance. We want systemic change. Unitarian Universalists recognize the need to build just and equitable infrastructures for medical care and public health in labor and community organizing and in congregation-based programs for social and personal wellness. Let us enter a place of peace and serenity where you are one with your spiritual being. Be at peace within your space where the absence of all that is temporal is the most cherished gift. Let us enter the stillness. Please come back now. Our second reading is from the UUA Statement of Conscience 2019, entitled Our Democracy Uncorrupted, July 1, 2019. America begins in Black plunder and white democracy, two features that are not contradictory but complementary. Ta-Nehisi Coates. Democracy in the United States has always been compromised. At the nation's very founding, participation in governance was almost entirely limited to white male landowners. Wealth was created from those excluded. Land seized from indigenous peoples who were forcibly assimilated or removed and/or exterminated, and labor exploited from enslaved Africans, indentured servants, immigrants, prisoners, the working poor, and women and children. Compounding this corruption is the existential threat of a global climate crisis that the previous presidential administration failed to address. The impact of this climate crisis will fall most heavily on low-income communities of color. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., echoing Unitarian minister Reverend Theodore Parker, said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." We can no longer wait for that to happen. We must act to bend that arc now or face the unthinkable consequences of a destroyed environment and unlivable planet. If we are to rise to the moral challenge inherent in the climate crisis, we must embrace the struggle to achieve an uncorrupted democracy. Today's anthem is the music video Time Traveler by Lila June, featuring Desiree Harp. It was part of the GA Wednesday morning worship service entitled Draw the Circle Wide.
traveler, running faster, warrior is born, battle to be won, past, trauma, future, hurt. I'm a child of the dirt and I'm ready to give birth, planting a dream, panting I breathe, running towards the future with a handful of seeds, stronger than greed, I am stronger than hate, I stand under the shades of trees planted so long ago, a product of ancestral love. I'm here because my elders danced in the sun. They would give it all up for us, and from day one it was practiced like religion to prepare for the ones to come. We are here to give all our love to the ones unborn. We are here to give all our love to the ones unborn. This is insane, living for fame, living for the next quarter, profits and gains. You forgot love, you forgot truth, you forgot how to live for a time beyond you. It's not about you, it's not about you, it's about the song that is traveling through. It travels through time, singers will die, but the song lives on through matrilineal lines. We are here to give all our love to the ones unborn. We are here to give all our love to the ones unborn. Open your eyes, open your heart, draining aquifers before they can recharge. We're not in charge, nature's in charge. Look to the stars, remember who you are. Stay humble or fall, we don't know it all, and we are not exempt from natural law. Live selfishly and the structure will fall, but if we live for those unborn, then the song will go on. So before you take a book off the shelf, take a look inside yourself. Answers come to you at light speed. I'm searching for knowledge that I can't find on a news feed. Knowledge found through intuition, knowledge found through fasting and dancing. This ain't superstition, it's ancestral tradition. So throw me the spear of wisdom, sharpened and sunlit. I'm giving my life to the oneness. I'm a warrior, I'm sun-kissed, I'm armed, but I'm harmless. Protecting cycles of rain and cycles of snow. Fighting for children whose names I will never know. I look up and read the messages written all across the sky. Messages telling us that it's time to evolve or die. It's time to live this life right, so that when our children look back, they look back with pride.
What we learned at GA 2021, to be given by our UUCC members, Andrew Fagan and Robert Wilkinson. Andy and Robert volunteered to be our congregational delegates at GA this year.
Circle round for justice, healing, courage. That was the theme for General Assembly 2021.
Justice. We who believe in justice and peace, who believe in widening circle, who believe that we can work together, hear each other, see the pain, know the love. We who believe that the arc of the universe is long, but that it bends towards justice, must know that it bends only if we make it bend, if we believe. Reverend David Kramer, minister, United Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Waukesha.
Healing. With the support and encouragement of the congregation and the rest of the ministry team, we've been able to re-envision what pastoral care looks like in a community that's been traumatized and torn apart by violence and injustice, and what pastoral care and the role that pastoral care can play in a community in helping it to heal. Reverend Suzelle Lynch of Unitarian Universalist Church West in Brookfield, Wisconsin.
Courage. Let us go forth from this place, ready to reopen our mind, reawaken our spirit, recover our courage, recapture our heart. Let us revive what is dying, rekindle what flickers, reboot what is crashing, retool what is stopped, rebel at injustice, resist all repression, remove all barriers, refuse to give up, repair what is broken, revive what is sleeping, repair what has fallen, reform what's unjust. Because one day, I don't know if it will come in my lifetime, but one day the chains will be broken and those asleep will wake up and those estranged can make up and all the fearful will stand up and all who have given up will get up and those who have strayed will shape up and those who were missed will show up and none of us will give up, back up, or shut up until the world we dream of is built up. One day affirmed, unafraid, alive, and in love again and again. Reverend Tony Larson, Unitarian Church North, Mequon, Wisconsin.
This year's General Assembly paid much attention to the lives of Indigenous peoples. GA was virtual, online once again, but if it had been in person, the location would have been Milwaukee, Wisconsin. During the Wednesday morning worship entitled Draw the Circle Wide, recognition was given to the American Indian nations of Wisconsin, depicted on this slide. The Thursday morning worship service was presented by the Native Caucus of the Diverse and Revolutionary UU Multicultural Ministries, or DRUM. DRUM is a UU collective bringing lay-led religious professionals together to overcome racism through resistance and transform Unitarian Universalism through our multicultural experiences. Through storytelling, music, dance, and ceremony, they provided a moving service, delivering several important messages I'll speak about now. Today's chalice lighting words honored, quote, the sacred fire in our hearts and minds that brings us into the circle, all equal, all accepted, all validated. A beautiful way of expressing our first principle of affirming the inherent worth and dignity of every person. In drawing the circle wide, energy was directed towards the gathering of human strands broken off from the web of life. That refers to the thousands of communities that were shattered by the white man's occupation of Indian territory, but are being resurrected and woven together once again. Dr. Clyde Grubbs told a Cherokee story that's been spoken for thousands of years, entitled The Rabbit and the Turtle. It's a different version of the tortoise and the hare story that we all learned as children. In this version, the rabbit challenges the turtle to a race, thinking this is going to be an easy one, in 3 days. So the turtle accepts, and in that period of time before the race begins, we find out, and spoiler alert, we find out that the turtle has gathered its community of brothers and sisters and cousins and parents and children, all of whom look very similar, and plots to place have those turtles place themselves along the pathway. Come the day of the race, they start, and the rabbit runs way ahead of the turtle, thinking this is going to be so easy. He takes a break, and while he's taking a break, he looks over farther down the road to see the turtle walking, and he goes, "How did he get ahead of me?" So he runs again and takes another break, and you get the idea. Further down the road, he sees the turtle and wonders again, I must be going crazy. How did he get there? Finally, the race ends, the turtle wins, and the rabbit is totally bewildered. The lessons of the story are, we are strongest when we act in harmony as a community. The turtle reveals to the rabbit that it wasn't just one turtle, but many turtles. And the second lesson being, if you slow down just enough, you could notice that all turtles don't exactly look alike. They're each unique. We heard from two representatives of the Standing Rock Indian Reservation, located near what is now Cannonball, North Dakota, about the resistance to the Dakota Access Pipeline that will disrupt sacred native land and waters. We were told of the struggles of Native Hawaiians, including their campaign to restore the sacred mountain known as Mauna Kea, where a telescope array was erected. They fight to restore Mauna Kea to its natural pre-settler state. Attending this service, I was moved by the powerful expression of Native Americans' connection to the physical world and the web of life.
For myself, as a first-time participant, I found it took some time to get used to the language and protocols employed at GA. For example, in making any statement, the speaker would introduce her or himself, for example, by saying the following: "My name is Robert Wilkinson. I'm a cis male. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria, which is located on land originally occupied by the Chumash indigenous people of the Central Coast of California. I'm a bald white male wearing a white shirt and charcoal pants."
Robert, you left out, "I'm a very handsome bald white male." Just like in our congregation, it's rare that more than one person runs for a particular position in the UUA's Board of Trustees. Sorry, technical difficulties. Still, the left hand not quite doing its job. It's rare that more than one person runs for a position on the UUA's Board of Trustees. But this year, the Board of Trustees position 8 had 2 candidates, one nominated by the nominating committee and one running by petition. Reverend Kate Laurie of the Quimper UU Fellowship of Port Townsend, Washington, summarized it this way, quote, "The UUA Nominations Committee has put forth UU Minister Sam Trumbore as a candidate. Reverend Trumbore is a longtime advocate for racial justice and is very supportive of the UUA's approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion within Unitarian Universalism. Running by petition against Reverend Trumbore is Jay Kiskell, who is opposed to the UUA's approach, including opposition to the idea that we live amidst a white supremacy culture. It is also his belief that the UUA is becoming less democratic overall." End quote. The UUA sponsored several online debates between the candidates in order to help delegates make their decision. The debates were very respectful, and the candidates agreed on a number of issues. But the primary differences between the two candidates' positions were, number one, disagreement over the health of the democratic process and General Assembly. Reverend Trumbore supports the work of the nominating committee as it operates currently. Jay Siskel states, quote, "The nominating committee has become nothing more than a gatekeeper to preserve the ideological mindset of the board," end quote. He did not feel he received fair treatment as a candidate by petition. Secondly, Sam Trumbore supports the Commission on Institutional Change report entitled Widening the Circle of Concern, which he describes as, quote, "our current roadmap to address racial inequities within our UU association and congregations." Jay Kiskel questions what he considers, quote, "ideological conformity" over the concept of white supremacy culture and how we UUs need to address it within our congregations. Reverend Sam Trumbore prevailed in the election, but there's a lot to unpack regarding the two candidates' positions. You can explore more on their websites, which are shown here and will be in the recording of this service if you want to check them out later. Robert?
Thank you, Andy. As UUs at GA, we set priorities for social justice efforts. The proposed priorities exemplify UU commitment to justice, equity, and compassion. Generally, the documents that set UUA social justice priorities take two forms. They are, first, statements of conscience, and second, actions of immediate witness. The statements of conscience are a product of 3 years of study by the Commission on Social Witness, the UUA Board of Trustees, and the General Assembly Planning Committee. The congregations propose once a year one issue for study and development as a statement of conscience. During the study period, input is sought from congregations in the General Assembly. After the second year of study, the Commission drafts a proposed statement of conscience that is presented for approval by the delegates at GA. 2/3 of the delegates must vote to approve the statement of conscience for it to pass and become a social justice priority. The second form of document setting forth social justice priorities is an action of immediate witness. An action of immediate witness is a document affirming social justice policy through speech and action that demonstrates solidarity with those who are mistreated. In contrast to the statement of conscience, which requires 2 or 3 years of study, actions of immediate witness require immediate action and are considered right away. At the 2021 General Assembly, 1 statement of conscience and 3 actions of immediate witness were approved by the delegates. In an unusual process, 4 actions of immediate witness were presented to delegates ahead of the business meeting. Delegates voted to choose which 3 would be discussed. The statement of conscience that was approved is entitled "Undoing Systematic White Supremacy, a Call to Prophetic Action." It calls upon the UUA, UU individuals and congregations to actively engage in undoing systematic white supremacy, such as embedded institutional and pervasive racism, white privilege, and racial bias and oppression. Proposed concrete actions in purport of the statement include, first, engaging in our communities and the nation with a movement to heal the evil of racism by participating and organizing social action to denounce injustices such as police brutality, theft of native lands, and environmental racism. Second, working internally in the UUA to overcome systematic racism woven into UUA culture. Third, building relationships across boundaries of privilege and oppression. And fourth, fulfilling our UU role as spiritual anchor to Black, Indigenous, and people of color UUs, known as BIPOC UUs. Fulfilling this role requires financial and administrative support of spiritual healing within the UUA infrastructure. Andy?
Thank you, Robert. So that was the statement of conscience. The first action of immediate witness, AIW, approved by the GA delegates, cites many laws and restrictions that have been proposed in states across the USA, which would target trans youth and trans people with the least power, enabling discrimination in sports, healthcare, education, birth certificates, and beyond. At least 18 bills have been passed in 9 states. It calls upon Unitarian Universalists to strongly condemn all anti-trans legislation and demand the repeal of recently passed laws in several states. Further, this AIW calls upon the UUA and all UU congregations to fight all discrimination based on, quote, gender identity, expression, sex characteristics, and affectional sexual orientation. Second AIW. As Nancy stated in today's first reading, GA recognized with sincere compassion the pain and suffering brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. The second action of immediate witness called on the UUA and all its congregations to lobby, quote, the US government to work with the World Health Organization and other agencies to make vaccinations and essential medical services available to all nations, to recognize and work to correct the socioeconomic disparity that results in inadequate health care for so many. And, quote, we ask the Unitarian Universalist Association, our congregations, social justice organizations, and interfaith partners to work together to research and demand federal solutions, end quote. Finally, this AIW expresses gratitude for the healthcare workers, teachers, and social workers, food and transportation workers, and many others who have cared for people during recent emergencies. Robert?
The third action of immediate witness approved of by the delegates is entitled Stop Voter Suppression and Partner for Voting Rights and a Multiracial Democracy. It calls upon the UUA and its congregations to first engage nationally with UU actors such as UU The Vote and UUs for Social Justice to deepen the theological grounding of issues of democracy. Second, to call up, write, witness, and advocate for national legislation, including For the People Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, and the Washington, D.C. Admissions Act. And 3, collaborate with local partners to combat voter suppression and other anti-democratic efforts put into place by state legislatures. This AIW is prefaced by a written series of examples of anti-democratic efforts, events, or circumstances, such as the gutting of the Voting Rights Act in 2013 by the US Supreme Court, the gerrymandering of congressional and legislative districts by state legislatures, the failure to recognize the District of Columbia, which prevents its citizens from being represented in the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate, and the January 6, 2021 insurrection that attempted to overturn the 2020 presidential election.
Thanks, Robert. So Robert mentioned early on that there were 4 actions of immediate witness offered up, but only 3 can be considered based on the bylaws of the General Assembly. So prior to the business meeting where we discussed the AIWs, a vote took place online, and the 4th of the 4, this one got the least votes. So it was not officially considered, but it was still discussed because it was felt to be important to bring it up to the GA's assembly regarding the U.S. military aid to Israel and the Middle East conflict. It stated, quote, "In accord with the call from the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, we, the 60th General Assembly of the UUA, call for U.S. military aid to Israel to be withheld until Israel complies with international law and stops violating the rights of Palestinians," end quote. As always, issues involving the Middle East are difficult and controversial. Look to future General Assemblies for this issue to be addressed once again. Robert.
Thank you, Andy. GA also offers many pre-recorded seminars on a wide variety of topics. One, the post-pandemic small congregation, seemed particularly relevant to our congregation. It explored what small congregations learned from dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and what practices they should consider carrying on into the future. The panelists were 4 UU Congregational Life consultants, the Reverends Erica Barron, Megan Foley, Philip Lunn, and Sarah Schur. The panelists focused on 3 useful qualities found in small congregations. These are a sense of mission or purpose, 2, the ability to change, or what they call nimbleness, and 3, the ability to be inclusive. Briefly, as to their mission and nimbleness, small congregations are generally quick to identify their parishioners or their community's needs and organize to meet them. For example, one congregation was quick to set up a warming center for homeless people at the outset of the pandemic. Moreover, during the pandemic, small congregations have used communication technology, such as we're doing today, Zoom or FaceTime, to be more inclusive in getting members to take part in various activities, such as serving on the Board of Trustees or participating in strategic planning meetings. These new technologies allow members who could not participate in the past, for example, due to a long commute or family responsibilities, to take part. Equally exciting is the use of the technologies to allow 2 or more congregations to put on events together. This fosters more creativity in organizing activities or meeting parishioners' needs and development of friendships between congregations. The panelists said that they would like to see the use of communications technologies extended into the future. Benefits include congregations being less isolated and becoming more diverse in their membership. The use of these technologies may also free congregations from the financial obligation of maintaining a building, such as we've gone through here. In other words, a congregation could exist and operate with a building or without a building by meeting virtually and renting meeting space only when necessary. In conclusion, The annual Ware Lecture also must be mentioned. Stacey Abrams and Desmond Meade were the guest speakers, interviewed by UUA President Susan Frederick Gray. Their remarks were profound and covered a number of crucial social justice issues, too many to summarize this morning. We would offer a screening of the recording of the 2021 Ware Lecture at a separate time if members are interested. Andy?
So you can tell that GA was a laugh riot with all these policy issues to be confronted. There is fun to be had. There is definitely community, even albeit virtual. Though that's experienced during the morning worships primarily, but even during general assemblies when the business of the UUA is encountered, there's a good deal of camaraderie and community at the same time that we're confronting big issues. Finally, as delegates, Robert and I each voted our personal conscience. We wonder if for future GAs, our congregation would like to consider the numerous issues to be addressed ahead of time, they are available ahead of time, and provide direction on how our delegates should vote. That process would require a significant amount of time and energy, but would certainly prove worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert and Andy. I watched the Stacey Abrams speech lecture, and it was very good. This morning's offering will now be given and received. Please keep in mind that our congregation is entirely self-governed by the democratic process. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is to provide all of the financial support for our many ministries from among ourselves. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and our institutional well-being. You are invited to participate in the blessing of giving. For those of you at home, please use one of the methods shown on the screen. Thank you. Our thanks for all gifts given and received for the work of this community. Let us now sing the doxology.
From all that dwell below the skies, let faith and hope with love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung through every land, by every tongue.
Please join in singing the closing hymn, We Are Circling, by Buffy St. Marie.
Waiting for my drummer to arrive.
We are circling, circling together. We are singing, singing our heart song. This is family, this is unity, this is celebration, this is sacred. We are spiraling, spiraling together, onward, inward, creature to creation, holy mystery, Mother Earth, childbirth, this is celebration, this is sacred. We are circling, circling together, we are singing, singing our heart song. This is family, this is unity, this is celebration, this is sacred. We are spinning, spinning all together. We are singing over the rainbow. This is harmony, this is community, this is celebration, this is sacred. We are circling, circling together. We are singing, singing our heart song. This is family, this is unity, this is celebration, this is sacred. We are ripening, ripening together. Babies, fossils, elders, and angels. This is how we grow. This is how we get to know. This is a family. This is sacred. We are circling, circling together. We are singing, singing our heart song. This is family, this is unity, this is celebration, this is sacred.
Thank you, Mary and Andy. Let us now recite the valediction. The flame of this chalice will no longer burn today, but the light of the flame within our hearts continues to shine brightly, illuminating the love felt in our community. Please extinguish your chalice at home now. After the benediction, please click on Gallery View button in the upper right corner of your screen, but please stay muted. Randy will call on you when you raise your Zoom hand. Andy and Robert?
We gather up these strands broken from the web of life. They shiver with our love as we call them the names of our relatives and carry them to our home, made of the four directions, and we sing
Of the South, where we feasted and were given new clothes. Of the West, where we gave up the best of us to the stars as food for battle. Of the North, where we cried because we were forsaken by our dreams. Of the East, because returned to us is the spirit of all that we love. Go in peace.